So I've been getting a lot of requests to talk about this. Let's talk about the Christian boycott, protest, and backlash around the Olympics. Because where we are today is that the organizers of the Olympics have now officially apologized to Christians who were offended by a performance during the opening ceremony that some alleged was a parody of the Last Supper, or that important moment in Christianity most famously depicted in a painting by Leonardo da Vinci. With that, you can see the resemblance between the performance and the painting, with the key difference, at least according to critics, being that instead of the apostles gathered around Jesus, it was drag queens. And then on top of that, you had a singer dressed up as the Greek god of wine. And so that aired, and all of a sudden you had a lot of outrage among Catholics, other Christians, and all types of conservative politicians and personalities around the world. Elon Musk, for example, claiming the performance was, quote, extremely disrespectful to Christians. You also had Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, saying, last night's mockery of the Last Supper was shocking and insulting to Christian people around the world who watched the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games. Hell, you even had Andrew Tate coming out and saying he's boycotting the Olympics because of the whole thing. Also attacking the director of the ceremony for being gay and Jewish, writing, the opening ceremony planned and orchestrated by a gay Jew was disgusting. And then with that, sharing a nearly 9-minute rant about how the performance made a mockery of Christianity.
How are you not angry by what they've just done? They've openly mocked your entire religion from head to toe. One of the most sacred images throughout all of Western civilization, the Last Supper. They mocked it. Are any of you gonna do anything after the most blatant mocking, probably in history, of Jesus Christ? They wouldn't dare do it to Judaism, and they wouldn't dare do it to Islam. They would not dare. They mock Christians because you're endlessly weak, endlessly forgiving.
And actually with that, you saw Tate and his brother stage a small protest in front of the French embassy in Romania. But in any case, right, all of this backlash led to this moment during a press conference where you had a spokesperson for the Games say, there was clearly never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. On the contrary, I think we tried to celebrate community, tolerance. We believe this ambition was achieved. If people have taken any offense, we're of course really sorry. But with all that, here's the thing. This whole performance that so many people got upset about, reportedly, it didn't actually have anything to do with Christianity at all. Right? Reportedly, it wasn't a parody of the Last Supper. It was actually based on a whole different painting called The Feast of the Gods, with that being a painting depicting a group of Greek gods on Mount Olympus for a banquet. And in fact, if you go back to the day of the opening ceremony, the official Olympics account actually posted on Twitter explaining how the, quote, interpretation of the Greek god Dionysus makes us aware of the absurdity of violence between human beings. So you had that right out the gate. You also had the artistic director behind the opening ceremony insisting the Last Supper was not the inspiration behind the scenes, saying we wanted to talk about diversity. Diversity means being together. We wanted to include everyone, as simple as that. And adding that, quote, you will never find in me or in my work any desire of mocking anyone. But now, the reality is you have this situation where you have people arguing that the irony of this performance is that it's now potentially put people in real danger, with people pointing to Barbara Butch, for example, a French DJ and LGBTQ activist who was in the performance, saying through a statement from her lawyer that she's been threatened with death, torture, and rape. Also saying they've been targeted with numerous anti-Semitic, homophobic, sexist, and fatphobic insults. Also with that, announcing that she'll take legal action against people who seek to intimidate her. And so with all that, one, I want to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts regarding that whole controversy and scandal? But then also two, while you're maybe leaving that comment, I want to talk about another big thing that's going down with the Olympics, and it's about the concern around security. Because just today, there's been what's been described as another act of major sabotage in France, with this one being against fiber optic networks, and according to the police, it affected at least 6 of France's administrative departments. And notably, this includes the city of Marseille, which is hosting football and sailing competitions for the Olympics. Also, the reason I say another attack is because on Friday, we saw French rail lines disrupted by coordinated sabotage ahead of the opening ceremony, with arsonists targeting installations along high-speed rail lines connecting Paris with the country's west, north, and east. And even though rail workers happened upon one of the teams of saboteurs in the middle of the night and chased them away, 3 other attacks were successful. And they have had a massive impact. Around 250,000 passengers were affected on Friday. And by the time the traffic returned to normal this morning, around 800,000 customers had faced disruption. And so with that, you had France's transport minister saying, 1, the cost of the attacks would very probably amount to millions of euros, and 2, that considerable resources have been put into place to strengthen the surveillance of the 5,000 miles of the high-speed rail network, with the state-owned rail operator describing it as a massive attack on a large scale to paralyze the network. The country's interior minister also described the attack as very precise and extremely well targeted. You also had the head of the region that includes Paris and its surrounding areas saying clearly this attack is not a coincidence, saying it aimed to destabilize France at the moment the Olympic and Paralympic Games are launched. And as far as who is behind these attacks, there's no shortage of speculation, I can say that. You have the Israeli foreign minister claiming the sabotage of railway infrastructure across France ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics was planned and executed under the influence of Iran's axis of evil and radical Islam. Though really, it seems like most people's money is on Russia, right? Especially as France has been one of several European countries impacted by a wave of sabotage attacks that have been linked by officials to Russia. Back in April, you had the French president saying he had no doubt Russia would target the Olympics this summer. In fact, with that, French authorities have recently arrested a Russian citizen in Paris, accusing him of preparing destabilizing events during the Olympics. But also, this is a key thing, at least with the railway attack, we saw the interior minister suggesting that far-left activists were behind it, telling French TV, "This is the traditional mode of action of the far left. We must be careful. The question is whether they were manipulated or it is for their own benefit. There are people who can approach this movement." And in fact, today, you had authorities arresting an alleged far-left extremist, someone who reportedly had access to keys to the railway operators' facilities, tools, and far-left literature. But then at the same time, you had officials saying it was unconnected to the disruption on Friday, with them also adding that no one has been arrested so far in the investigation into the arson attacks. And so with that, you had the interior minister warning against jumping to conclusions because the perpetrators could have been manipulated, with of course the unsaid thing there being by Russia. But of course, all of this is a developing situation. There are investigations, more information to come, and so we'll have to wait and see.